Morning. I have a different setting here to have our Bible study devotional, and I'm in our living room. I wanted you to see this tree behind me that I have. That was a Christmas gift from my sister. Isn't that my little lit tree and my picture of Jesus holding the lambs? And this flower arrangement was also part of Christmas. It's Friday morning, and um, this is a little crooked, sorry, but good morning. It's 8 a.m. It is July 3rd, and July 3rd for our family is a special day. It's would have been Kurt's birthday today. So happy birthday in heaven, Kurt. And today we're in Genesis 48, and we're starting in verse 12, and this is the 91st day of our gathering. Consecutive day with a like one day missing, I think. So isn't that, or 2 days maybe for appointments or something. So how are you all? It's been uh, 24 hours since I saw you, and what a 24 hours. So I've slept a little bit, but not enough. That's why you see me in my robe, and it's my day off, so I wasn't rushing to get dressed. Um, we had our air conditioning break. So yesterday was spent trying to fix that, and the day before as well. It's going to be a little bit longer of a time than we hoped for it to get fixed. So I'll show you how I have the windows right now. Never leave our windows open, but we're using what you call a whole house fan this morning and drawing in the cool air. Never have done this before in this house, but we're drawing in the cool air from the outside, and then we're going to close the windows up here in a little bit. So that is a great invention. And then we have um, one portable air conditioner that was installed yesterday, and another one that we borrowed last night that isn't installed yet. Just basically catching you up on my day, and I'd love to know how you all are doing, what is happening with you on this Friday. Um, so here we go. So much going on in the world, and yet we've got to stay grounded in the Word of God. So we're going to read here about how Jacob blesses his grandchildren, and let me know if you can't hear me well enough. Hoping everyone will be able to find me on here. Sometimes it takes a while for people to find the live feed. All right, so Joseph, verse 12, then removed them from his father's knees. Now, what had happened, if you weren't on here yesterday, was that Israel got to meet Manasseh and Ephraim, his grandchildren that he'd never met before, that were born to Joseph when he lived in Egypt. And wow, he was, hi Michelle, great. I'm so glad you can hear. Um, so what what we're reading about today is how he's going to bless them as his grandchildren, how he's adopted them into their family, and it's a big deal because all the inheritance from the Lord and the word from the Lord is going to go into their lives as well. They're going to be included and blessed. Their children are going to be blessed and so forth. So Joseph then removed them from his father's knees and bowed low in respect before his father with his face to the ground. That's the first verse, and that is just an amazing scene to think that his two sons were on the knees of their grandfather who could hardly see, um, just so he could feel them and get a kiss from them and really just put his hands on them. And it's just amazing that his son, who was ruling Egypt, would bow low to the ground in front of his father out of respect. And oh, how we need this now. And Joseph took his sons and had them stand facing their grandfather Israel. Ephraim at Israel's left hand, and Manasseh at Israel's right hand. But Israel crossed his arms and stretched out his right hand on the head of the younger son. So, hi, sweetie. Ephraim and his left hand, he's on his younger son Ephraim, and his left hand on the head of his firstborn Manasseh. So, even though Joseph had strategically placed his sons where Manasseh would be here on the right side, let's see, how can I show you my hand? Um, he did this so that he could reach Ephraim. He was a wise old man. Ephraim was at Israel's left hand and Manasseh at Israel's right hand. But Israel crossed his arms and stretched out his right hand on the head of the younger son, Ephraim, and his left hand on the head of his firstborn son, Manasseh. And he spoke these blessings over them. May the God, I love this blessing. Good morning, Gail. May the God of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, who lived devoted to him, and the God who has been my shepherd from my birth until this day, the angel who has delivered me from all harm, may he bless these boys. He's talking about the angel that he wrestled with that threw out his hip socket. May their lives echo my name and the names of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac. May they multiply into teeming multitudes throughout the earth. Wow. May they multiply into teeming multitudes throughout the earth. When Joseph saw his father place his right hand on Ephraim's head, he wasn't happy. So he tried to move his father's hand from Ephraim to Manasseh's head. He said, "Not that way. Here, father, put your right hand on the firstborn's head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son. I know. Manasseh's descendants will also multiply and become a great people. His younger brother will become even greater than he, and his tribe will one day give rise to many nations." So he knew what he was doing, and he knew that it was going to be Ephraim that received the greater blessing. They will say, oh, so Jacob blessed them that day, saying, "Israel will use your names when they pronounce blessings. They will say, 'May God make you like Ephraim and like Manasseh.'" This is so incredible. Let's read some of the notes here from these scriptures. We started in verse 12, but the first notes that Brian Simmons puts in this book of Genesis is in verse 13. It says, "By placing them before him like this, Israel recognized Joseph's sons as his own by adoption." By adopting Joseph's sons, Jacob removed the firstborn blessing from Reuben and gave it to Joseph's sons. How do you like that? So he removed the firstborn blessing from Reuben and gave it back to Joseph and to his sons because he thought all this time Joseph had been gone. And then in verse 13 it says, this notes say Joseph positioned his sons so that Jacob's right hand would rest on the firstborn Manasseh, which we already said he was trying so hard to get things orderly and right as he knew them to be. And then in verse 16, the Lord had visited Jacob as an angel, the midnight wrestling man, his true friend. At the end of Jacob's life, he could say that his shepherd friend had delivered him from all harm. Instead of moaning and complaining about his hardships, this servant of God declared the mercy that had preserved him. Christ, the angel of the covenant, redeems us from all evil. And then let's keep reading in the scriptures, verse 17. Hi, Barbara. When Joseph saw his father's place his right hand on Ephraim's head, he was not happy, so he tried to move his father's hand from Ephraim to Manasseh's head. Not that way, Joseph said to his father. Here, father, put your right hand on the firstborn's head. So we had just reread this already. And there's, once again, it says in the notes, the spirit of prophecy had fallen on Israel and on Jacob, and he knew that it was God's will to bless and honor Ephraim above his brother Manasseh. Once again, the younger was set above the older and was given a greater blessing and a greater work. Maneuvering is not our choosing, our selecting, but blessing is God's choice. God chooses. It had taken Jacob a lifetime to learn this lesson. It's far better to wait until the blessing of God is seen and give up our maneuvering to have our own way. Verse 20 says, Jacob blessed them that day, saying, Israel will use your names when they pronounce blessings. They will say, may God make you like Ephraim and like Manasseh. So I don't know if you guys can still see me or hear me, but the computer says that they're having trouble playing this video. If you can comment real quickly and tell me if you still see me, I would appreciate it, because the screen just went black. Let's see. I don't know if it's because I'm sitting where I'm sitting. Somebody, yep, you can still see and hear me. Okay, so it will just be me staring at a blank screen then. Okay, that's all right. Thank you for telling me that, Michelle. So in verse 20, Jacob blessed them that day, saying, Israel will use your names when they pronounce blessings. And the notes say that Ephraim and Manasseh became strong leaders in Israel. Their descendants multiplied and grew mighty. Joshua was in the tribe of Ephraim, and so was Jeroboam. The tribe of Manasseh was divided after the conquest, with one half of one side of the Jordan and the other side on the other side of the river. Jacob, foreseeing this division would weaken the tribe, and so he crossed his arms. So he knew that there would be a division and that it would weaken their tribe. So he crossed his arms for the blessing. The blessing spoken by Jacob endured and still endures. When the Lord blesses, no one can turn it aside. Jacob's hands that deceived and grasped what was not his now have become the hands that bless out of an overflow of life. He was first called the heel holder or the heel grabber, and now he has become the blessing giver. And I just wanted to point out here that our lives can really change. God can really change our lives as he changed Jacob's life. Um, it's a beautiful thing to know a changed person. I want to bring up my mother here just for a moment and say that I've had it on my heart to share this with my children, and I just haven't had the opportunity yet. But the Lord reminded me of her testimony just recently. It was about a week ago. Our mother passed about 5 years ago. She was in her early 90s. But at 9 years old, she accepted Jesus into her heart and became a born again Christian. And she would tell me and tell others her testimony as she was sharing the gospel. And her one thing that she would always bring up that I thought was just amazing, and it really hit me the other day. I'm just saying this because God changes lives. She said that until she was 9 years old, her heart was filled with hatred. She hated people. She had so much hate in her heart. She was troubled all the time with this. And by the end of her life, I think everyone that knew her would say that she was possibly one of the most loving people they'd ever met in their life. And one of the very last things she said to me as she was laying, you know, days or a day or two before her passing was, "We live to love." And Gail and I put that on a magnet that we handed out at her memorial service because, well, we hadn't heard anyone say that before. And she kind of became lucid at the last few hours and kind of woke up and whispered, "We live to love." And it was a message from heaven. And it was actually her life message. You know, we all carry something. That was what she was carrying. And I just want you to get this today that God does a complete transformation in people. And we talked about this last week that we shouldn't second guess the transformation people have um, been given from the Lord. That once they were, you know, awful, or once they were drunkards, or once they were this or that, and we still are suspicious of really whether or not they've changed, and that's not okay. We need to see the power that God has demonstrated in their life and rejoice and celebrate in that and celebrate them. And so, excuse me, I just wanted to share that with you because I don't know, it just gives me such great joy to see people's lives radically changed. I know that all of you have a testimony and have been being changed by the Lord for many years, and the transformation is real, and God gets the glory because we really can't change ourselves. And the things that he's trying to get at is all for his glory and for our good and for those that are around us so that they can enjoy God in us, coming through pure and shining and glorious. So let's read on in verse 21. So the crossing of his arms during Jacob's blessing put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Son, I will die soon, but God's presence will go with you, and one day he'll take you back to the land of your ancestors. I give you one mountain slope more than your brothers, the mountain slope of Shechem, the fertile region I took from the Amorites with my own sword and my own bow. Um, this could be a reference to Mount Gerizim, which stands above Shechem. The implication behind this is that because Joseph was raised up, he will inherit the higher ground. And that's the end of chapter 48. And I think it's amazing, this interaction, end of life interaction between Jacob and his family. And I just wanted you to hear about this today. And I love, Gail said, this is so true. We can always believe for that change in people we do. Live to love. God is in this. God is in the changing business, and our country is a picture of change. Yeah, it gives me great hope. So in our next meeting tomorrow, we will be in chapter 49, and we'll be reading Jacob's last words. And then probably we'll have a couple more days after that before we're finished with chapter 50. I'm staring at a black screen, so I really don't know what I'm looking for anyway. It's just me here. But at the end of our study, I do want to have a Zoom call. And so I need to start planning that and setting that up so that we can all see each other face to face. I'm going to go back through here and reach out to everyone that's been on here at different parts of these 3 months that we've been doing this, and see if we probably have a dozen different people that have been on the journey, so to speak, and just to meet one another, to make comments about the book of Genesis, to maybe pray for one another, just to chat so that we actually know who it is that is going on these Facebook Lives with us. And because I know I have pictures of all of your faces in my mind when I'm talking, but I don't think that the rest of you know, maybe just a couple of people. So I think that would be really fun. I'd love to know from you guys whether it would be better if I scheduled it during the morning like this at 8 a.m., just at the end of what we're doing here, or if you'd rather have an evening time. I'm leaning towards just doing it in the morning, and then if you know how Zoom calls work, you just receive an email from me, and it's an invitation to join, and then we all get on together. It would be so fun to have everybody show me their cups of coffee, since I've been showing you my cups. My blessing cup again today. This was, I think, the first cup I showed you when we started the study, and it was a gift from Phoebe, um, I think for Mother's Day a year ago. It says blessings, and it says it's a noun, and then it says a favor or gift bestowed by God that brings happiness, prosperity, and peace. A prayer asking for God's wisdom, compassion, and protection. A collection of all things that we love that give us joy. Prayers answered through the grace of God. So it's my blessing cup. And it'd just be nice to see you all kind of get caught up from all over the country. I'm just excited to do this with you. So I'm thinking it will be sometime next week because we'll be finishing here very quickly. Today is Friday, so we could potentially be done by Monday with the book. And so I probably, if you would do me a favor to get the ball rolling, if you would private message me your email, and then I will have it. I'll make a list and send out invitations. Okay? I'm excited to do that. I love gathering people. So, does anyone have? Thank you, Barbara. It's been a blessing for me too. You guys, I don't feel like I have a lot of community here. I have my sister, which I'm so thankful for, but a lot of times this is community for me online, which I wish it weren't like that. I wish there were, more live community for me, but not not happening as I would like. So this is a blessing to me too. And all right, so don't forget to give me your email in Messenger, and I will set something up soon. It's going to be very soon. Any other comments about today? Change lives happen. All right, love you guys and see you tomorrow at 8, Saturday morning. Bye bye.